And welcome back inside the cave on this Tuesday morning. Patt Hayes, John Kane with you. Glad you could join us. And of course, at 7:25 we call on Tom Crawford. Tom is with the Crawford Podcasting Network and a regular on Fox 47's Press Pass. Tom, welcome to the broadcast this morning.
Well, it's great to be here as I am every Tuesday morning at 7:25 year-round. Hey, we talk football. We're under 90 days now. I think it's 88 days till kickoff for Michigan and Fresno State. Saturday night underneath the lights. Can't wait.
Can't wait is right. And coming up on this year's schedule, game number 2 against Texas. Tom, I think this is going to be the game that's going to tell us whether Michigan is going to be special again this year or they might not quite be as special as we would hope.
Well, I don't know if it's going to clearly define special versus non-special because it's so early. I mean, and there's margin for error now, obviously, because you got the 12-team playoffs. So, I mean, they could lose to Texas. They could even play poorly against Texas and rebound. And, I mean, there's enough credibility games in front of them beyond that, obviously. I mean, USC just name brand alone. You got to go to Washington. Washington is probably going to be, I mean, they're going to be a drop-off from last year, and some people say Michigan will as well. But when you look at Washington's schedule, they'll be undefeated when the Wolverines go into Seattle on October 5th. So that will have a lot of recognition type of, on a national level. And then obviously in November 5th, Oregon, everybody thinks Oregon is a team to beat in the Big Ten, and that still remains to be seen. And then Ohio State, obviously in Columbus, and which has not intimidated Michigan, we saw last time. So, but we're right now. I'm kind of my focus. I'm looking at personnel. I'm looking at depth chart, and then I'm pondering, Sharon Moore, and I'd like to get your opinion on this too. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how confident I am about him, and I am really confident, and the reason why is he's so willing to reach out to others for input. I mean, he reaches out to other coaches in the field. He reaches out to Jim Harbaugh. He's reached out to Nick Saban. And Nick Saban has been real bullish on Sharon Moore. Remember the draft when he raved about Sharon Moore's offensive line, the best offensive line he's ever seen, period. So I think the strength of a football coach is a willingness not to be stubborn in his own little vacuum, but he can reach out to others for input, and that's going to be a strength for Sharon Moore.
I totally agree with you, Tom. I'm very positive about Sharon Moore, and some of the things that he has done during the off season here, make my positivity even greater because. One of the things that he has talked about here recently is about his coaches and how many of these coaches one day are going to be head coaches in their own right, and specifically Grant Newsome. He is very, very high on him and said so in an article that I read. And like you said, I think he's inclusive. He's a type of person that wants to reach out to everybody, and you said he's been reaching out to all these coaches, but I think he's going to do very, very well as long as he can get his post game messages on TV a little cleaner. But I think he learned his lesson there. But he is a fiery guy, and what he says, sometimes he doesn't really think about the words that he uses.
Well, I mean, that's, to me, that was a one-off, and you go back to that, and that was obviously post-game of the Penn State game, an emotional win, and that was the first time that he was steering the ship. Well, no, earlier in the year he did, but, I mean, those last 3 games, he was steering the ship on his own, and he ran the table at Penn State, at Maryland, and then home with Ohio State. And it was a Penn State game that we didn't know if Harbaugh, I mean, when you were watching College Game Day there, I mean, there was, on-site journalists are they going to, in this ruling, are they going to bring Harbaugh in, a police escort right before the game, and no one really knew what was going to happen. And the thing about Jim Harbaugh, which I think he created, in particular with his staff the last few years, which I think Sharon Moore is going to do, is that he surrounds himself with great coaches, and he lauds them and he praises them. He doesn't micromanage them. He lets them shine, do what they're trained to do, and give them all the accolades. And that's a terrific style of coaching, in my opinion. And not all coaches have that style. A lot of coaches play mind games with their staff. A lot of coaches play mind games with their players. Threatening their scholarships, things like that. That's not Sharon Moore's way. And I'm not. I don't. That was a. I remember Judd Heathcote once said, intercollegiate athletics, well, once again, make fools of us all. I mean, some of these emotional moments, I get that, but people don't realize how much goes into everyone, how much emotion gets poured into the game week, and that was a big win for Michigan. Doing it in the running game, and his offensive line was crushing it, and that you go look at that Penn State game in that second half. That was one of the crown jewel moments for this past season.